Welcome to my learning experience for the introduction of development education, education and sustainability into the classroom. First off, what is development education? Development education is a process of teaching young people about different social and environmental issues around the world. And then hopefully within teaching these young people these issues, that then they can make connections with their own lives and then empower them young people to make a positive difference in the world. Why is it important for teachers to teach development education? Well, teachers are in a unique position where they're meeting students every single day, so they can make a real impact on these young people's lives. Then these issues are going to be facing these young people when they're older, so it's really important that they're taught these issues from a young age where they can make a real positive impact when they're older. So then moving on, we are looking at some of the social issues of development education. So I picked out five of kind of the main social issues that you might see in Ireland, like homelessness, especially, which is kind of very important at the moment, especially if you had young people maybe that were in emergency accommodation. Loneliness as well, especially with old people, and how it can obviously lead to poor physical and mental health. And then education, the amount of people around the world that actually aren't getting an education. And then students might be able to like identify with this and obviously be able to parallel their lives and how they're getting an education, and make connections with that. Obviously, then farm safety, a lot of people don't know the dangers that are on the farm. And there's obviously highlighting these dangers such as machinery, livestock, and chemicals. And then animal welfare, the treatment of animals, and how no unnecessary harm should be done to them. I also then looked at some of the main environmental issues that students might be able to identify with. So obviously, climate change is really big at the moment. The burn of fossil fuels, which is obviously increasing the Earth's temperature and then changing the climate patterns around the world. Carbon footprint's a really big one, especially in our subject, um, because construction obviously being one of the largest, having the largest carbon footprint in the world, really important that you can teach students about this, and then hopefully that they can make a change then about because of it. Deforestation, again, another really big one with our technology-based subjects because wood is used so much, and the amount of trees that are cut down around the world. And then you have energy consumption, burn of fossil fuels again, and obviously waste disposal. How many people recycle and what they recycle, how much goes to landfill, all this. So just highlighting these issues to young people, and hopefully then they'll be able to make a change. So the next thing is how you would implement development education in the classroom. And I believe that the best way to do this is through project-based learning. So what you should really do, a really good way of promoting this is either find a real problem in the world that deals with one of these issues, or else making up a persona. So for example, I've made up two here on the right hand side. So Patrick has been recently been put in emergency accommodation. So then I have that's the problem statement, and then the problem brief is down here: 12-year-old boy that is living in emergency accommodation and is in need of a flat surface that can be easily stored on, carry out school activities. And then here's an example of what could be made: a flat surface, and obviously then it can be packed away because they're in emergency accommodation. Um, and then also then down here we have Sarah has cerebral palsy but wishes to ride a horse. So you could make some sort of thing like a step here that could help that person. So these are dealing with real life issues. So what you would do is you would give students this brief, then they go out and do their own research on the issue. So they will research cerebral palsy, and they could research the heights needed to get onto a horse. They could research emergency accommodation, the size of it, what they have, what they don't have. So then students are almost teaching themselves about these development education issues, these social and environmental issues. And then so then you're not just making like an artifact anymore. You're actually making a solution to a real life problem, and you're actually making a positive impact on the world. So that's one way of just putting development education into the classroom. So then next up was sustainability into the classroom, how you can improve that. So I kind of have three different headings here that are ways to improve or to get sustainability into the classroom. So obviously, circular design is where everything is a resource for something else. So this is really important if you're teaching construction, with the amount of waste, how little how little is reused in construction. So you're trying to like bring in this circular design, to so that all materials would be reused, so they'll actually retain their value, the materials. And then you're looking at the classroom environment. So then you could also implement this with projects that you make, so that each of the projects might have a secondary function, so that they maintain value, so they don't depreciate. So maybe if it was a child's toy, it would have a different value, or it would have a different function as the child gets older. Next up, then we have design for disassembly and recovery. So again, this is a really important one for construction, because so much goes to waste. So this is just really where you're designing so that it can be taken apart and reused, and it doesn't lose any of its value. Again, this could really be used in the large-scale furniture projects that are made in Leaving Cert. If these could be made, that all the timber used in them could be reused for something else, then it would reduce the cost of the materials in the first place, but it will also then have a sustainable factor in it as well. And then realizing the value. So being able to see the value in different materials, really being able to upcycle your project from raw materials. So if you have something that was going to be thrown out, being able to take that, work with the timber, and then being able to make it into something that actually retains value, or even might add value to the materials. So that's kind of how to implement sustainability into the classroom. And then next, we're just looking at a case study that I completed, which I looked at a social issue, an environmental issue. I create the problem statement, create the problem brief, and then I actually create the artifact using 100% recycled material. So so this was given a broad scope, so you have to look whatever you could design or make an artifact on, whatever you wanted. So first of all, I went and did research as always. I came up with a problem statement. So the safekeeping of medicines and chemicals and disposal of hazardous materials such as needles, medicines is an important aspect for farm safety. So straight away, you can see the social issue, which is safety on a farm, and then the environmental issue is the disposal of hazardous material. So you have the safekeeping of medicines, and then you have the disposal of hazardous materials. And then I made my problem brief over here. So design and realize a storage unit for the safekeeping of medicines, and then also which can provide disposal of the waste materials. So then I had to go and I had to research the social issue. So I had to look at farm safety, how many people die on farms each year, how many accidents there are with farm chemicals, and different types of chemicals like that, and how they occur. I also then look at environmental issues, how currently on farms most waste is disposed, like the hazardous waste, like the needle tips, and the bottles, the old medicine bottles, how are they disposed? So I conduct primary research on that. So I actually taught myself about these social and environmental issue, which could easily be done in a classroom setting as well, where you give them that scope to think about these issues and to learn themselves about these issues. And then you can go on to the sustainability factor of the project, where I actually just got an old bed frame. I reworked all the timber. I got an old piano stool that had been broken, and I tried to use both these to come up with a design. And then I created this medicine cabinet, where you can have the safekeeping of your medicines in here, and then you can have recordings of all your medicine and your PPE over here. And then this this actually medicine cabinet was made of 100% recycled material. Again, it's hitting the sustainability factor as well. So yeah, that's my learning experience.